I have a square template, which is 30 by 30 centimeters, and I've got 12 grams of a 19 micron merino top. I'm going to show you how you can make a square with straight and neat edges without having to cut the felt. So my layout will be fine, and I'll start on this side. The goal is to lay the wool exactly on the edges of the template so that you get a nice, neat square without having to cut anything. Notice how I'm laying the thicker ends of the fiber exactly on the edge of the template. The wispy ends are turned towards the inside of the layout. Now I'll do the same from this side. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to lay the thicker ends of the fiber on the edge of the template. If I were to lay the wispy ends on this side, it wouldn't have such a clear line. As you can see, the wool is very much aligned with the edges of the template. And now you can lay the next rows as usual. Watch out that you don't lift the fiber from that side. Finish this side and cover the gaps. And my first layer is done. Notice how it's absolutely square. Now I'm going to start from the top. Again, I'll put the fuller part of the fiber exactly on the edge of the template. Make sure everything is even. If it is, the felt will also shrink evenly. And that will prevent wonky edges. Now I'm going to sit on the table to do the layout from this side. Again, lay the thicker ends of the wool on the edge of the template. If your layout is neat, your finished felt will also be neat. And go on as usual. My layout is ready. Now it's important to feel it with your hands. Sometimes you can't see if there's wool missing, especially if the layout is thick. So your hands can help you feel if there are any uneven spots. It feels pretty even, so I'll place my netting and add water and soap. Lift the net carefully so it doesn't stick to the wool. Now notice what I'm doing. I'm starting to work on the edges right away by making this type of movement. This makes the fibers shrink and helps create an even edge. So use the tips of your fingers and do this. And the fibers from the edge start to retract. Can you see it? Do the same on this side. I'll put the net back on. The fiber is still very soft and I want to be able to press more. I'll remove some soap. It's a bit too soapy. And insist. It's stable enough that I can make more pressure directly on the fiber. Now we have the tendency to concentrate the pressure in the center. So the center shrinks more and the edges shrink less, and you end up having wavy edges. So think about taking care of the edges first. Use the tips of your fingers or the base of the palm of your hand to make more pressure. Notice that the movement is perpendicular to the edge. But when the felt is more stable, you can start alternating movements. Parallel to the edge and then perpendicular. Repeat. And notice how it's shrinking. Do the same for the other 3 sides. You can also start massaging the center since we haven't done that yet. Notice how this bit is longer. So rub where you want it to shrink. See? I'll rub a bit more on this side and then I'll start rolling. The edges aren't completely straight, but they're very close. So the rolling will be a huge help. You can do this with a bubble wrap as well, but the bamboo mat is more efficient for what I want to do because it creates more friction. When you start rolling it up, fold it exactly where the edge is. Make it tight and roll about 50 times. Turn it in any direction. Again, fold where the edge is and roll. Notice how the edges are becoming straighter. Repeat this as many times as you need to. Go back to rubbing and throwing, or just roll until you've gotten the shrinkage you need and you're happy with the edges. I prefer alternating the folding methods because I feel that gives me quicker results. I'm rubbing on the bamboo mat because it creates more friction and helps with the shrinkage. And I'll just repeat the methods I've used before. Work on the areas that need to shrink. Use the tips of your fingers to press and concentrate on the details. Soap helps. And if you need to, rub diagonally. As you can see, it's a perfect square. I'll just give it a last roll and rinse the felt. And here you are, a straight square. It's still wet, so I haven't ironed it yet. I've just finished felting. But if I iron this, it'll become even straighter. This is now dry and I've ironed it. Now you can see how straight the edges are without any cutting and even without any folding. If we compare it to the paper square, it's even easier to see how neat the edges are. Even the corners are neat.